All right, time for part two. Greetings and welcome. My name is Aaron Craig with Beyond Us Games, and this is part two of building a top-down shooter, but I just wanted to talk about what I was doing this morning first, in case you're interested in building websites, whether you have a lot of experience or not. This is something that you can be doing. I am going through how to build a website. So if you are making a game or you're launching like your own independent company, something like that, and you want to have a web presence, then follow my web dev live stream and you can learn how to do that. Alright, let's close all that out. Now let's get back to where we were. In the first part we had movement. And I had some really good discussion with some of the viewers, and we talked about different ways of setting up movement. What I eventually decided on was I wanted to move with WASD, have my player be looking, well I guess I can just show you, be following the mouse in their image angle, like this, and I can, if I hold W, then I follow the mouse completely. If I strafe to the left, then I am always moving that direction, no matter where I'm looking, and if same thing for the other direction, and backwards just goes straight backwards. I know how to do like following. If I was to strafe left, I could circle the mouse, but I think that's just really weird, and I don't want to do that. And I know how to do grid directional movement. That's already super simple, so I'm gonna not do that. Where I left off was if I'm moving forward and I press left or right, I just instantly go backwards, which isn't really what I want. I want to transition to then strafing left or right. So that's what I'm going to work on first, and then I guess if anyone is here and has input, then we can decide what to do next. Actually set up firing projectiles, or set up like some terrain and collisions, or AI if we wanted to start with that first. I don't know. It's up to you guys if anyone is here. So that being said, I'd like to get this little bug of our movement system set up, figured out so that it works better. Now, I've got this very simple system set up, and I need to figure out why I am moving backwards when I press left or right, because that's definitely not what I want to be doing. Currently, I am just taking my direction, moving it to the left 90 degrees or to the right 90 degrees, and then just moving still. So I wonder if part of the problem is my negative move speed. What if that is causing me to move? So let's try turning that off. Nope. If I don't have negative move speed, then I just don't do anything at all. So let's keep that in there. Now, last time I had a problem with the debugger that it wasn't working at all. I got everything updated, and now it is working properly, so I can check that out. So let's do a little bit of that. Now, I realized that I can't actually just put a debug line on here, because when you're debugging input, it pauses as soon as you do that, and it no longer recognizes that a keyboard is being pressed. So you can't actually just straight debug a line of code like this, because it no longer recognizes that I am pressing left or that I was pressing left. So that doesn't work at all. What I can do though is put inside of here like a debug message to see like if it is activating twice, because if direction was firing twice, then that would make sense why I am suddenly going backwards. So let's go ahead and do that. Just put in a message here, and this will just show up in the bottom here, and if it shows up twice, then that would be why, but it doesn't. So it only recognizes the input once, and that makes sense. Okay, so it's not that this is firing twice and setting my direction to be backwards. So then the other thing to do would be, let's do a debug message down here, and let's actually put in our direction and see just how exactly that changes. So if I come here, press left, so it actually does like a full 360. If you see down there, it actually moves just like 1 degree less. It's basically doing an entire 360, but I'm not quite sure why that is. So my direction basically isn't being changed at all. And that would be because my if statements are in a specific order. I am checking forward and backwards first, and that means that if I'm holding down W and A, W is still going to be checked first, but my move speed is going to be altered. So let's cut this code. Let's try putting that first and see if anything changes there. So now when so it still doesn't work. Like pressing D and A, it's not doing anything at all, actually. It doesn't do anything. So that's a little strange. But it also feels a little bit better, like if I'm strafing left or right and then I press forward, I actually then move forward instead of not. So I think that order works better in general, but it's definitely still not working. So I wonder if part of the problem is that because I'm still checking my image angle here, so I'm going to do a really dirty if statement check here just to see like if I'm pressing left or right. And this is not going to be very clean, but we'll figure out how to make it actually like smoother later. So if keyboard check left or keyboard check right, so we're going to say if not to both of those. So if we're not pressing left or right, then we will update our image angle based, or update our direction based on our image angle. Oh, wait. Forward. Hold on. Let's see. Sometimes when you start doing too many checks like this, it can get a little confusing. So let's do a quick message in here and see if I'm pressing forward or not. Okay. So forward is being triggered. Okay. So yeah, that makes sense, and I can get rid of this debug message down here. That's kind of confusing. Okay, so we've got moving forward, that makes sense. And it still shows that it's going forward. Like if I'm going left, I press W, you can see that it's still going forward. So that's not working either. So what I want to do is only update my direction if I'm not trying to strafe, because if I'm strafing, I don't want to be, well, I don't want to be moving forward anymore. I don't want my image angle to be updated. So let's what if I updated this at the very end, like after all the if statements? That would work, right? No, that doesn't work at all. Okay. Alright, so I don't want to spend too much time on this because a lot of solutions to problems come to me after I am done like trying to work on them. So I'm going to leave this here now, knowing that my strafing is not working properly. So I'll leave a comment saying strafing doesn't work when moving forward or backwards. So I'll leave that in there and move on to another problem. The last movement problem that I see that I really want to work on is if I get to my mouse, my character just freaks out. So I basically want to say stop moving when I get close. So if I think point distance is the function I want to use. So if my point distance between myself and mouse X and mouse Y is less than 5, we'll set speed equal to 0. Yeah. Okay, so that puts me like right next to my mouse, but it doesn't freak me out. Okay, that works. So the only problem is that if I'm right there, then I can't move at all. I'm seeing something from Sterling. Have you tried applying the direction to a secondary variable and then changing the variable, that value for strafing? Can you elaborate? I think I get what you mean, but I'm not entirely sure. The strafing, in a sense, works. The problem that I'm having is when I'm moving forward and well, right now, if I'm moving forward and then try to strafe, it doesn't go anywhere. My direction doesn't move like it should. I can strafe if I'm not moving forward or backwards, but I can't strafe if I'm already moving. It just doesn't do anything. Go ahead and think if I put this first, then okay, then that won't work. Alright, so we'll leave that there. I think causing my player to just stop moving when he gets close is fine. And then if we move the mouse at all, he'll move. So I'm fine with that for now. I'll leave a small comment. Says can't move at all if mouse is directly on player. So we'll leave that there and see if we need to come back to that later. Okay, so that gives me a movement system that I'm happy with for now. There's no collisions or anything because we don't have anything inside of our game. So if anyone has anything specific that they want me to work on next, let me know. Otherwise, probably what I'll do is get working on projectiles because that's a shooter, and then collisions with enemies with those projectiles. I think that makes the most sense. So I need to bring up my assets for this. And oh, that's the wrong file. Here we go. Okay, let's see what you mean direction. Yeah, so Sterling, that's kind of what I was doing, and that's one way to do it, but by altering the direction by like 90, it's basically going to take my player and move him in a circle, which isn't the kind of strafing that I want. It is a way of moving, and if that's how you wanted to design it, you can, but I actually want my player to strafe just directly from whatever direction that they're facing, and to keep moving in that direction as long as they're still going, as long as they're still holding left or right. So, does that make sense? Because I believe the solution you are talking about right there is basically going to take my character and put him around, moving in a circle, because you're always adding 90 to the direction, and the direction is always changing based on the image angle. Yeah. So, that's not the kind of movement system I want, but it does work. So, and I did that before. Good idea, though. That is good. Alright, let's go ahead and find some shooting. So I'm going to go to the... Okay, so we have... Oh, right. I think... Oh, okay. Oh, these are the actual just weapons themselves. Really, if you got a solution for that, then I'd love to see it. Okay, so we have some actual just weapons by themselves, so we could apply those to other sprites. I remember this being the problem last time, was that he has all of these awesome sprites, but then I don't think he has anything for projectiles. So like we can make a terrain, and we can apparently have kitchens and eggs cooking, but I don't see anything for actual like projectiles for the guns, either bullets or lasers or BBs or whatever. So we need to find those. It's a bone. I guess they could shoot knives. That'd be kind of funny. But yeah, okay. So I think, yeah, nothing on there either. So okay. Let's make sure I'm not missing something on a different folder. Tile sheet complete. No. And don't care about the vectors. Okay, so we need to find some bullets. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's see. Let's go back to Kenny, and because we're using Kenny, it makes the most sense to just continue to use him. And so if we can find something from there, that'd be great. Hey, mon Dieu. Ooh. Gotta be careful pronouncing names like that. Things are going good. Still super... I guess it would be a little earlier for you now, huh? Let's look up bullets here. So there's top-down tanks. Which... that could work. Yeah, that could definitely work. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Now I'm just getting lost on more assets. I don't think I can really integrate any of these, although that's kind of cool that he does 3D artwork as well. That's really neat. There's some 2D. They're not colored at all. Man. 11's not too late. This is a really cool thing. I did not know about 3D models, that you can just view them on here. If any of you are using, I guess, GameMaker for 3D, or using Unity or Unreal or something, these look like some really nice assets. That's cool. But not what I'm looking for. Okay. Not what I'm looking for. Why don't we go ahead and take these, and these will be our filler sprites for now, just so that I have something that we can start working on right away. Because I could spend an hour easily just looking for good sprites, and that'd be crazy. I don't know about you, but I oftentimes spend more time looking for assets that are like just right than actually like coding, and that's not what I want to do, at least in a stream. Maybe by myself trying to find the perfect ones, but not here. Okay, so bullets. Yeah, that'll work. These are very colorful and might be a little silly, but hey, we will take it. That's a nice green bullet. Alright, so let's do that. Let's throw some bullet sprites into our game so that we can get up and running. I like greens. I'm going to go with the green bullet. SPR, green bullet, and we'll just throw in a couple different ones so that the enemies can use orange or something. Okay. So let's make an object for that. OBJ. I think we'll just do one. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. We'll just do one for now. I'll default it to green and then just change the sprite as based on whoever shoots it. And I think that should work fine. I'm going to go and we're going to add a mouse event. Left. Yeah, left down should work for what I want to do. Okay, so here when we press it, instance create, I always do depth. I know layer can be useful. I haven't come across actually like using a bunch of layers yet, so I usually just use depth. And hold on, I'm seeing a message from. I gotta approve it, and I got a screenshot. Okay, let's take a look at what's going on here. So Sterling is saying that he thinks this would work. So strafe equals false. Okay. Oh, gotcha. So you... Okay. Alright, well, let's try it out. Secondary state indicator. Yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with doing, let's comment this out first. I'm okay with doing some dirty coding right now and then cleaning it up in a little bit. That's perfectly fine. So, we're going to go with strafe equals false. And, yeah, if I need direction, then I guess we'll see if we can need dir. Alright, so if left, I'm going to say... Actually, probably the easiest thing to do would be, I'm going to copy this, and then just for testing this out, I'm going to go ahead and comment that whole section out, paste it back in here, and then put in this code to see what we've got. So, direction, we need to update dir equal to direction. We need to check in here. I'm guessing we need to get rid of this whole thing. So if strafe is equal to false, then direction dir equals direction minus 90, and strafe then equals to true. And then we keep moving. So same thing down here, except we want to add it. And for everything else, so you have another if statement here. It says if strafe is equal to true, if not left, and not right, strafe equals false. Okay, so let me see if I understand what's going on. So if we're pressing left and strafing is false, then we do that, and we move. So inside of forward and backwards, I'm guessing we're going to need to add in something about this strafe, but let's just see. Okay, so currently left and right are taking me just, both of them are taking me straight backwards, but that might be my fault because, oh, so we are updating direction right here. We can't, I don't think we can be updating direction outside of these if statements, because otherwise our direction is just always going to be, well, yeah, because we're updating direction based on image angle here. Let's see. Okay, so right now, yeah, so strafing with what we've got right here. Okay, be sure to set the movement to be applied via dir and not the original direction. Okay. Movement to be applied. So I'm applying the movement based on direction here. So we're changing direction. We're no longer using direction here. Right? Am I catching this correctly? So that's not what we want. Direction, so we're increasing, we're going left, we're going right. So image angle is there. Okay, I see. So did that wrong. So let's set up image angle equals dir. Right? We want to be changing this. Okay, so now we are not moving. Direction equals direction minus. So part of the problem now is our direction just like really isn't changing at all. So my going forward, backwards, left and rights are kind of all doing the exact same thing, and I don't think that's what we want. So I'm not sure I'm totally understanding what you're trying to go for here, and it's probably on me because trying to implement a brand new system without being able to actually like talk about it like face to face, and you know, it's kind of difficult because you're watching me as I'm doing this, making changes, and probably thinking I'm doing it all wrong and knowing what to say, but because there's like a latency, you can't actually correct me at the exact same time. So I will leave this here and I will play around with that idea and see if I can get it to work. That sounds like a really good plan, Sterling. Take into yours, and then if you can get it working on your end, send it my way as like a, you know, copy and paste code, and I'll throw it in there and see if I can get that to work. That would probably be the easiest thing to do. Thank you for your effort, though. I appreciate that. Okay, so now let's do some shooting. Now, I played around with this. This is also about as far as I got last time, was firing projectiles and getting them to actually come out at the right area. So on our sprites that we're using, whichever one we're using, we actually want the bullet to be coming out of the gun, not right out of the middle center, not out of the origin, which means that we need to alter where we create the sprite, but we have to alter it based on some kind of value that is based on his image angle or his direction, because again, because we're rotating the sprite, we can't just say, oh, always create the bullet 40 pixels to the right and 10 pixels down or something, because if he's facing up, then that obviously won't work at all. So we're going to play around with that and see what we can find out. So first we'll just start by creating it and setting the bullet to fly properly. So we create a bullet, and inside of the bullet we'll actually make a create event. We'll set its speed equal to 7. Image angle equals direction, and then we'll see if inside of the player we'll assign that to a variable. With that, we'll actually direction equals other direction. So we'll set the bullet's direction based on whichever direction we're facing, which then should also set it to be going the correct way. So I press left down and nothing appears. Speedy, so that is visible. Instance create depth. Yeah, that should work. Alright. Super basic and not going anywhere. Nice. Okay, so my left down is not being triggered at all. Okay. I must be missing something very obvious here. Left mouse button. Yeah. Okay, let's put it inside of left pressed and try it there. Still absolutely nothing. And okay. So hopefully this makes you feel a little bit better, considering I can't even seem to create a bullet at this point. This is kind of sad. Okay, let's try putting this in the step event then, instead of in its own event, and see if it works inside of here. So let's say if mouse check button MB left, then I'll throw this code in here. And run it there. Okay. Weird. And that's a lot of bullets. And they're also not facing the correct way. So, for one, let's quick change this to pressed. And then, now part of the problem, yeah, it is fun. Part of the problem is that sometimes you can't like actually adjust the crate variables. I found that sometimes that just doesn't work. So I'm going to put this inside of the step event. That way the bullet will... Oh, okay, I see what the problem is. Changes detected in root directory. Would you like to reload or save? Let's go ahead and save them. Alright, GameMaker. Don't be like that. Okay, so when you are having projectiles, they need to be rotated to the right. That way, when you change the image angle, that it works. It actually works. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this image. And rotate all frames clockwise. I'll save that, and I think I might need to adjust the origin as well, but nope, we're good. So now I can fire a bullet, and whichever way I'm facing, it comes out pointing in the right direction. That works great. Let's go ahead and rotate this sprite as well. Okay, now we've got two bullets, two different bullet sizes there. Okay, let's go to bullet, and I'm going to add a variable inside of here and then set the speed. I think that's a little too slow. Okay. Try that speed real quick. That's a little faster. We'll eventually see what we like best, but that'll work for now, so that works great. Image angle is being properly done inside of there. But just to test it, let's see if I put it inside of the create event, if that works properly. No, it does not. Okay, so it does need to be specifically inside of the step event. Good to know. Alright, now what we want to be able to do is set up a repeating fire, because we obviously don't want to have like a machine gun for our player and like have to keep pressing the mouse button over and over again. That would be very silly. So we need to set up a system of firing as long as we have our mouse button down. And this is where I had something before using an alarm, so I'll try to replicate that and see if there is a better system as we get it built. So I'm going to say, go back to the just checking the left button. So we're checking that left button, and we're going to say if alarm 0 is less than 0, then we'll go ahead and this might not be what I want, but We'll see. We're going to create a variable here real quick as well called probably fire rate, and this would be something that can be altered by whichever gun we are currently holding, because some guns will fire faster, some guns will fire slower. So we're going to say a fire rate of, I think we're going to probably set the alarm at the fire rate, so we'll set it at 45 first, so about a bullet and a half a second or so. So probably quite a few bullets. We'll play around with that as we go along. Okay, so now less than 0, and then we'll fire that. And we could actually put all this code inside of the alarm, which we might actually do. We're going to say else alarm equals fire rate. And I know that this will not work by itself, because if we're holding down the left button, then this alarm will always be being set to fire rate. So we have to come in here and add in another check to say if alarm doesn't equal fire rate. Or, yeah. So we need to check and see, we need to have either a variable or something in here that will only trigger that very frame that we're trying to hold down and shoot for, because otherwise the alarm will infinitely be being set to a number and will never get below 0. And before I forget, let's add in that alarm. Fire rate for gun. You have to have an alarm there. It doesn't have to have anything in it, but if you don't have the alarm, it's not going to work. So if alarm doesn't equal fire rate, no, that's not going to work. So if alarm is, let's say, greater than or equal to fire rate. So if it's if it's triggered, then we do that. And if it's greater than or equal to, no, we want to say if alarm is equal to -1, then we'll set fire rate again. Oh man. Else alarm equals fire rate. Well, let's run it and see what happens, and we'll play around with it. Wow, that's a lot. And I don't think that's what it is, but let's check this. Let's say put it to 2000. That might be too much. But I think that my alarm is just, yeah, it's just automatically triggering as soon as I do that. So that's not what the problem is. So, okay. Oh, the problem is that my first if statement is creating it. So it's just going to continually make it, because right now the alarm is at -1. And what I need to do is alarm 0 equals fire rate. So now it'll trigger the first time, and then the alarm, no, not working. Okay, so let's do a quick, let's watch this through. So I press the trigger, let's follow this through, create the bullet, yep, set the direction, yep, going through, we're not moving. Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha. We're not even going into the alarm at all, because we don't need to, because it's already done. So we're going to set alarm 0 equal to fire rate right there. And we shouldn't need that. Okay. So that works, kind of. I mean, it allows us to fire, but if I hold it down, it doesn't do anything. So at least we got that. So now we are holding it down, and we're saying if it is ready to fire, then we're going to go ahead and shoot. Setting the alarm to be on a delay of seconds based on room speed. Yeah, and that's not a bad idea, setting the alarm to actually be based on room speed. The problem is just right now, I have to find a way to only trigger setting the alarm one time. Otherwise, it will continually set the alarm and never actually get down to that spot. So, let's see. And I don't know about you, but I oftentimes will just sit here thinking about it for a minute, trying to figure out exactly what I want to do. Most of the time, though, it just comes down to tweaking different things and just playing around with more options. Like, as soon as something comes into my head, if I try it out, then I'll find out if it's working or not, and if it is, then it's great. If not, then I'll just move on to another idea. Right now, I think I have this just in the entire wrong order. Like, this just isn't working at all. So I think what I need to do is change how this entire thing is set up. So let's see. We're going to go ahead and throw in the creation code into the alarm. And inside of here, we're just going to set the alarm. That's all that we have to do, is just set it. So if alarm 0 is less than 0, so if it has triggered, or if it hasn't been set yet, alarm 0 equals fire rate, and then we need a variable, ready to fire equals true, and inside of here we're going to say and ready to fire. So then it will set it once, and then we're going to say ready to fire equals false. And inside of our alarm, we're going to say ready to fire equals true. Okay. So I'm holding it down, and it is firing. Pretty slowly, but that's kind of about what I expected. Now, the problem is if I press it one time, it takes 45 seconds, so, or 45 frames. So instead what I want to do is actually fire right away, because I want it to trigger immediately. Yeah, that's what I got right there. Sterling, I hate to have, like, I want to have as efficient code as possible, and for me, adding another variable just for this feels so wasteful, but at the same time, there are sometimes, you're right, less than or equal. Sometimes it's just the only way to do it, but, yeah. Okay, so I want to actually, I'm going to say alarm 0 is equal to 1. I want to see if I can have it fire immediately if I press it one time. Oh, that's... I wonder if I throw in... So down here, I have the code. If I created a bullet specifically, like, right as I pressed it, then that might work. So I shoot one. Whoa, nope. No, that's a bad idea. We don't want to duplicate that code. Probably put that code inside of a script and then call that script later on. But right now, I want to fire a bullet as soon as it's pressed. So Sterling says, if you set alarm to 0, if the mouse button is not pressed, it'll fire immediately, but only when the mouse button has been released. Yeah. So if the mouse button is not pressed, it'll fire. Can you show me what you are talking about? I'm going to make a script for creating a bullet, so while we wait. Create but. Yes, that's not what I want to do. So I'm going to throw in this code into this script just in case we need to be doing it more than one time. And I'm guessing that will eventually actually change which bullet is, which object is created in here. So we'll add arguments to this script later on, but not right now. No, I don't want... Right. That's how I do my scripts. So we'll go ahead and create bullet. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this left down. Alright, let's give that a check. So, okay. So if we're checking the mouse button, do some code, else alarm equal to 0. Specifically, only adding the else statement right after the mouse press code. Only adding a statement right after the mouse press. Okay. So if I check, yeah, under that entire mouse check button, so right under here is what you're talking about. Hello, cactus. That's a very large and generic question. Probably the best way to start learning to code is to start coding. If you want to learn specifically game coding, I have a series based for people who have no experience learning to code. Other than that, just look up some tutorials and start following along. but make sure that you do follow along, because if you are not actually coding along with them, then you're not going to get near as much experience out of it as you would. Like, it's not something you can just watch and learn. So if you start coding, then you'll be a coder, and the more practice you do, the better you'll get at it. Which I am apparently a little bit out of practice. Okay. So if I press it once, it fires. It fires twice, though, because it's triggering that alarm right away, which we need to squash that. So I'm going to say inside of the alarm, I'm going to check to see if mouse check button, if I'm still holding down the left one, then I will go ahead and fire. But if I just wanted to shoot once, I'm not actually going to create a bullet. I think that would probably be the best thing to do. Yeah, so if I hold it down, then I continue to shoot. That's a really slow fire rate. We got to fix that. But then if I let it go, it doesn't fire anymore. So that's perfect. And I can click it and fire as fast as I want, which is really cool. So that's exactly what I'm looking for. So thank you for that, Sterling. I appreciate that. Let's go ahead and alter this fire rate. Let's try something like 15. And see how that works. So that's a lot faster. You can still, if you really try, you can probably click faster than that. Yeah, you can definitely click faster than that, but it's also a lot more work. So I think this is a good fire rate. We can actually give every gun that we want to have a specific fire rate, so it will make, you know, picking up certain guns easier or better for different situations. And I think that's kind of a normal thing, is, you know, to have lots of different really cool weapons that do things. So this just gives us a fire rate that we can adjust, and we can actually create probably objects or maybe just a 2D array of all the different kinds of guns with their data, so that when we pick them up, we can change that. So that, I think, works really great for what we're trying to do there. So let's see if we can create a quick collision with this bullet for the enemy. So I'm going to go ahead and create a collision with bullet, and I'm going to make a create event in here because I need to set up a few variables for them. So first we'll set up health equal to 5. We'll add in a step event. If my health is less than or equal to 0, instance destroy. So we'll kill him, and then this will my health minus equal 1. Although, again, we'll probably want to actually set up like damage on the bullet, so we can pull in other dot damage, so we can actually give this bullet a specific damage and then pull from that. So we might have to have lots of different objects based on here, or just set it up on the fly dynamically as we create bullets based on the gun that they're using. That's probably what we'll do, because that way we don't have to have, you know, 10,000 objects for all the different bullets and guns that are out there. So under enemy, so we can decrease their health, but what I also want to do is add either like a flash effect or like a pushback to show that it's working. First, we'll just do a quick check and make sure that if I shoot him 5 times... Oh, right. With other instance destroy. Gotta destroy the bullet that's touching him, otherwise we don't get anywhere. So we hit him once, goes away. Now he's dead. Okay, perfect. So that's what we want. Now I want to put in, like, when we get hit, I want to like push them back. So I wonder if we can use motion add to like push them back just a little bit. So let me look up what this does exactly before I just throw it out there. For collisions, okay. So it pushes them back a little bit, but then we have to actually stop their motion as well. So whatever direction he's facing, we want to push him back. So we're going to say direction minus equal 180. So that'll just push him back right, you know, back wherever he is. We'll give that a speed of 3, and I think that's just darn. Okay. Hit direction equals direction minus 180. Well, actually, if we put this in brackets, I think it works just fine. Right? Does not work. Okay, so we need to actually put in hit direction. Alright, hold on, Sterling's got another idea. Okay. If alarm is equal to 0, fire a bullet. Oh, okay, you just right underneath it. That makes sense. Let's see if that works, because that would be more efficient. Let's throw that in there. And test these two things out. Okay, that works fine. Yep, much better. Less code. Okay. Ooh, so he moves towards us. That's actually kind of an interesting idea. It's like you have to escape from them as you shoot them. But that's not what we want. He's clearly not getting thrown backwards. Okay, so his direction... I wonder if we increase it by 180. Because right now, he's looking at me. He's looking to the left. Yeah, that's actually... I mean, that's actually kind of creepy because, like... You know, he's just chasing you. But that's not what we want. So why is he not doing this? I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the enemy. His direction is 0. Oh, because his direction isn't being updated by anything but the bullet. So, okay. That makes sense. So we have to, instead, direction equals image angle. So let's see if that works. So we need to actually be setting his direction based on something so that then we can push him back. But again, that's not working. Okay. So his direction is not... He's still kind of chasing us directly. And I want to... Oh! I know. We'll just get the direction based on whatever's hitting him, not based on where... no, and... Yeah, no, that makes way more sense. If the bullet hits him, we want him to be hit by the direction of whichever direction the bullet was going is where he's going to be flying back to, not where he gets shot necessarily from. So if he okay. That makes way more sense to actually base his motion on where he gets hit, not on just whatever. Okay, so I'm going to pull the direction from other, so hit direction equals other dot... I should just be able to pull direction straight out of that because we are... no, we never set direction inside of the bullet, so instead we're going to pull image angled from that. And if we just pull image angle, let's see what happens. Starts moving towards us. So let's give that a negative. Let's just reverse that image angle completely. Doesn't work at all. Okay. Let's make sure that he's still... Let's see if he's still chasing the bullet, though. So if I hit him here... No, he still just moves directly forward for some reason. Weird. Oh. Let's see. I have to be setting his direction and his speed. So his speed is being set to 3. Is motion add actually changing his direction? Okay, so we're just adding direction. Oh. So we're not actually setting the direction, we're actually adding to it. Let's actually copy what they've got right here. So they're using point direction. Let's take a look at that. Okay. Yeah, so we should be able to use point direction based off of the bullet that's hitting them. So ourselves, other.x, other.y. So I'm going to set hit direction equal to point direction. And I think we want to just reverse that, but let's make sure that works. Okay, so still moving straight forward. So Cactus, if you want to... Well, I'll tell you that HTML and CSS and like JavaScript, that kind of coding is different than most other coding that you're going to do. So what I'm doing right here is using something called GML, which is a GameMaker language, and it's kind of a variant of like Java, which is totally different than JavaScript, and kind of like C#. This is a kind of a regular programming language. If you want to make games online, you'll be using a markup language and probably JavaScript. So a little bit different, and it kind of depends on the games that you want to learn. If you want to make just 2D games and you know that's what you want to do, then GameMaker Studio is a great place. There's lots of tutorials on my channel, and I have some courses online as well that you can buy if you want to do that. If you want to make like 3D games, you're probably going to want to branch out into something like Unity or Unreal, and those use different languages. So I guess the first thing is figure out the game you want to make, research that language, and then get the software, and just start there. I would recommend starting with something very simple like this. I mean, I say simple, but it's not as difficult to get into, in my opinion, as some of the other languages that are out there. Does that make sense? Okay, now I'm going to check something here. I want to just check my hit direction based on what I'm doing here. So if I hit him, 168.91. Okay. So I'm hitting him in 74. So I think what I need to do is actually just say direction equals hit direction, and then just add a speed. I don't know if motion add is really doing anything for me that I want it to do. So I want to be down here and shoot him. And he still just keeps going forward. Probably because my image angle is doing that. So let's get rid of that. And there we go. Now he's actually seeming to... Okay, so he's kind of following the bullet there. Yeah. Mondio is definitely right. It's very similar to Java. It's actually way more lenient though. Like, you don't have to worry about syntax near as much. So it's much, in my opinion, much easier to get into because it doesn't punish you for little tiny mistakes like most programming languages will. So it's a great one to get started with. Okay, So if I set speed equal to -3, he should then move in the opposite direction of where he gets hit. And then I'll set an alarm for him equal to 1, and alarm will stop his movement. And that should basically just push him back. Set it equal to 2. There we go. Now it looks like he got pushed back just a smidgen. So that works. That actually looks really great. Let's throw in a few more zombies, and so we can play around with that. But I think that's going to be where we stop for now, because that looks and is working pretty good. Seems like everyone watching, it's the middle of the night for them. Good night, man. Alright. Yeah, that's working. So that pushes them back just a little bit. And we can, again, give totally different values based on the gun and the hit back that we want. So that's something that we could definitely do for that as well. And let's see. So I think we want to do... Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Where he's getting hitting from, where he's moving, stuff like that. So if I change this to like alarm 0 to 4, how much more would that move back? That's quite a bit, but it feels very natural. I like that. Cool. Okay. So that gives us enemies that can hit our bullets. Right now, they're just disappearing. Yeah, Mondio, you're absolutely right, and it throws me off. I'm not a stickler necessarily, but I definitely will use like C# and Java syntax all the time. I don't use like 1 equals because it just throws me off. But in Gmail you definitely can. But I code in other languages, so I don't do that. So yeah, so I think this is where we're gonna end. Thank you guys for being so interactive, and Sterling, thank you very much for your help and assistance there. I appreciate that greatly. I'm glad we got that up and running. We have our players shooting, we have some decent movement, and I'm pretty happy with like the pushback that we got. I think next time what we'll do is probably set up better collision with the bullet, because right now it just like it vanishes like before it almost even touches them, so it doesn't look great. So okay, I should probably go, but I'm going to just change my collision mask really quick. I'm going to change it to manual and just like put it down. I guess we'll keep the width of it. We'll just bring this in like that. That way it like goes into the player or into the enemy. Let's try that even more. I just want to make it look a little bit better, although I definitely have to go because I actually have to make a trip to the train station now. Okay, that looks way, way better. Okay, I like that better. It is problematic, isn't it? It is not like super simple. You'd think it would be, but I see now why everyone uses like grid-based movement in top-down shoot. Like, I think that would be just the easiest thing to do, but I don't want to stick to just the easiest thing, so I'm not. Okay, but I'm really happy with how that looks, and I don't think it impacts the effectiveness of the bullet at all. I think it'll still hit just as often, but that is where we're going to end. So thank you all for joining me. I appreciate that. I am still figuring out my streaming schedule, but remember that I've got a website up now, beyondusgames.com. It's something I coded myself, and I'm doing live streams of website development now as well. And so if you're interested in that, join me then. My streaming schedule will be on there as I get it updated. I'm going to try and get my streaming schedule set in a week in advance, so you'll be able to go and see the week of starting. I'll try to get it Sunday nights, and you'll be able to just see and be able to join me as much as you want. I'm going to be revamping my Patreon soon as well, so if you're up for it, I would appreciate support on there. You'll get to vote on stream times so that I'm not always doing it in the middle of your night, and you can vote for different times. Right now I have a pretty open schedule, so I'm up for doing evening streams or more morning streams or whatever works. You guys get to let me know how that works. So thanks for joining me, and as always, have fun making great games, and I'll talk to you later.